Hello and welcome to Nuts Today with me, Emma Caldwell. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well, had a good day today. Here's what we've got for you on the show. First, we'll be heading to the stars for the official VIP opening of the new Sherwood Observatory facilities.
It gives the opportunities that this place offers, which is another world. An opportunity to learn about science, to learn about technology, to learn about other planets.
We'll have more on that shortly, plus we've got some great guests on the sofa for you too. And that includes the University of Nottingham professor behind a powerful new exhibition marking Holocaust Memorial Day on Monday. We'll be hearing all about that in just a short while. Plus we'll be finding out what improvements could be on the way for the city's most iconic road bridge.
I think it needs some care and attention. I'd like to see some external lighting on either side of the bridge. Like some of the other bridges around the country. I'd like to see something done about the safety barriers.
Later on in the show, I'm looking forward to this. We are going to be chatting with the narrator of Andrew Lloyd Webber's world-famous Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. The production sings and dances its way to Nottingham next month, and we'll be finding out all about what it's like touring on one of the West End's most iconic shows. Plus, of course, it's Friday, so that means we've got a bumper sports roundup coming up just for you as well, including the first words of Forest forward Chris Wood after he signed a 2-year extension at the City Ground.
I'm happy to be contributing and doing well for the team. I think it goes hand in hand with the team doing so well. It means I've got the opportunity to score goals and do well. So yeah, I think we're all happy where we are.
All that and loads more coming up just for you, but first, and this coming Monday marks Holocaust Memorial Day, with this year's events also coinciding with the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. To mark the event, a new international exhibition curated by the University of Nottingham and the National Holocaust Museum has gone on display in London. A Vicious Circle explores the history of various Jewish communities from across the globe, as well as those who oversaw the destruction of Jewish families through pogroms, and how violence against Jews extended far beyond the Nazi Holocaust. Here to tell us more about it is the exhibit's co-creator, Professor Maiken Umbach. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It sounds like a fascinating exhibition. Tell us more about it.
So we're a Holocaust museum and we're Holocaust educators, and yet there's a danger that the sheer enormity of the Holocaust, and also the fact that, especially for younger people, it's now a long time ago, makes it very distant and very hard to relate to the present. So the Vicious Circle looks at something more specific. It looks at the hatred, the conspiracy theories that fueled anti-Jewish violence, which started 2,000 years before the Holocaust, and really importantly, it didn't stop in 1945. So it's very immersive. It's in a circular shape, so you're literally inside the Vicious Circle, surrounded by big animated video screens and some beautiful objects. And it tells the story, as you said, of 5 different Jewish communities, all of which they're very different, and they're on 3 different continents, but they all met with the same fate. They were destroyed by a pogrom. People were massacred, slaughtered, and then the survivors typically fled the country, so these pogroms all led to ethnic cleansing. So we start with the one that most people know, the November pogrom, 1938, Berlin, a very well integrated Jewish community represented by beautiful objects, but then everything is destroyed. But then we point out this did not stop, and it also was never confined to Europe. So the second pogrom we talk about is the so-called Farhud in Baghdad in 1941. There had been a coup, like a political uprising, briefly bringing an overtly pro-Nazi government to power. The British ended the coup, restored order, and local people were upset and took it out on the Jews. Mass slaughter, and a community that had lived in Iraq for over 2,000 years was completely eradicated. The remaining people fled. But even in Europe, it didn't stop. So another example is Kielce in Poland. Used to have a flourishing Jewish community, wonderful klezmer music. There's klezmer clarinet, and most of these people were murdered by the Nazis in the Holocaust. But a small number, about 200 people, came back in 1946, resettled in their own hometown, and immediately were attacked by locals.
And it's so shocking, even to hear 80 years on, it's such a shocking piece of history. Tell us more about the involvement with the University of Nottingham.
So I have two hats, as it were. I'm a professor of history at the University of Nottingham, but I'm also chief academic advisor at the museum. We've done lots of projects together, lots of touring exhibitions, as well as redeveloping our beautiful permanent exhibitions on site. So I'm there as the historian, but I also see it as my role to widen the gaze and to say, you know, studying just the Holocaust in isolation, it doesn't help us understand why this hatred is still going on today. So we included in the exhibition the 7th of October pogrom from 2023. We have a stunning object, which is a beautiful butterfly toy. It was made by Shlomo Mansour, who was a carpenter on the very small kibbutz Kisufim. He, as a child, had survived the 1941 pogrom in Iraq that I was just talking about. He aged 85, 86 now, but aged 85 in 23, he was taken hostage by Hamas, and we've sadly not heard from him since. We don't know if he's still alive. He was working on this butterfly toy on the day that he was abducted.
So who is this exhibition aimed at? Is this for new sort of, you know, younger people who are coming through who maybe are learning about the Holocaust, or for just anyone who needs to remember?
Anyone, because I think, you know, most people have heard about the Holocaust, but for a lot of people that's the only piece of Jewish history they've ever heard about. They don't know about how histories of anti-Jewish racism in the Middle East, in North Africa, and those in Europe were intertwined. Nazi war criminals fled after the war, after 45, to Egypt, became involved with the Muslim Brotherhood, which in turn was involved with setting up Hamas. So there are all kinds of connections, and until we see those connections, we fear that the dangerous delusion which is behind all of this, that somehow Jews represent power, and therefore by attacking Jews you can create a free world. This comes up again and again and again. The conspiracy theory, the protocols of the Elders of Zion, that was a Russian forgery from the early 20th century. Hitler cites it, but Hamas cites it too.
Do you know, there's so much we could talk about on this, but there is. It sounds like an incredible exhibition, which of course you can find out about online. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Moving on now, it's time to look to the stars, because we've been to the Sherwood Observatory's Planetarium and Science Discovery Centre, which is hoping to inspire a new generation of astronomers, as yesterday it was celebrating its official opening ceremony. Despite the £6 million site opening its doors to the public in November last year, the event saw the coming together of many leading names in science, technology and engineering. And Lucy Marshall went along to find out more.
It's able to see millions of miles into the Milky Way, but back here on Earth, experts hope that Sherwood Observatory is about to make a big impact in how we all view our planet's place in the universe. The centre, near Sutton in Ashfield, has been transformed with £6.8 million. There's a new planetarium, exhibition hall and teaching spaces. Thursday's exclusive official opening saw experts in the field travel from around the country to celebrate what they hope will become one of the UK's best examples of how to bring space closer to home for the public. Dr. Steve Wallace is one of the driving forces behind the centre's expansion.
Oh, it's just amazing. I mean, this has been a dream for some of our members for getting on 50 years, actually, and it really accelerated in the last few years with some of the funding we've got from various sources. But to stand here today, on the day that it opens, just absolutely fantastic.
Construction started in August 2023 and doors opened to the public in November last year. But yesterday's event was a chance for local leaders and scientists to discuss its potential and success so far. Visits need pre-booked tickets and events this month have sold out. Professor Chris Lintott, the BBC Sky at Night host, was on the guest list and told the audience the observatory will inspire a whole new generation of scientists who one day could help us better understand the universe.
There was this kid at the back with his hand up like this with a question. And I thought, okay, well, we'll start with a question. I said, what would you like to ask? And he said, well, are you supposed to be an inspiration or something?
Veronica Pickering represents the King in the county. She's the Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire, and she hopes that His Majesty's interest in stargazing will lead to a royal visit in future.
It gives the opportunities that this place offers, which is another world. An opportunity to learn about science, to learn about technology, to learn about other planets. It's so special, because these young people in these areas don't normally get offered something so spectacular.
The observatory holds open days, school trips and planetarium shows like the Great Solar System Adventure and Planets 360. The upgrade also includes lots of new technology, including solar power and interactive exhibits. 2025 also marks 100 years since the world's first planetarium opened in Germany, and yesterday's Out of This World celebration in Ashfield, planet Earth, ensures there's much more to come in our quest for answers to the question posed by our universe. Lucy Marshall for Notts TV.
Thank you, Lucy. Right, let's have a look at some more of your news headlines first. And a video has shown the moment police arrested 2 suspects at East Midlands Airport as they tried to flee following a shooting. Romani Spencer and Pharrell McLennan were intercepted at the airport after they booked flights to Alicante in Spain in a bid to escape justice 2 days after firing at someone in the Bridgeway Centre in the Meadows in May of last year. The pair, both aged 18, were sentenced in Nottingham Crown Court today. McLennan of Maypole in Clifton was sent to a Young Offenders Institute for 13 years, while Spencer of Marlborough Road in Clifton got 10.5 years. Next, and a man who beat and choked his former partner to the point of unconsciousness has been jailed. 48-year-old Robert Bleasdale of Montague Road in Hucknall launched a sustained assault on the woman after arriving at her home in a jealous rage. Police were called after a concerned member of the public heard a commotion and raised an alarm. Following a trial at Nottingham Crown Court, he was found guilty of 2 counts of intentional suffocation and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. He was jailed for more than 4 years. Right, time for a short break now. Grab yourself a cuppa, come back after the ads because we'll be talking all things vinyl revival, repairs to Trent Bridge and taking a bumper sports roundup too. All that's on the way next. Hello, welcome back to Friday's show with me, Emma Caldwell. I hope you're well, having a good Friday so far. Here's what's happening in Notts today first. And Mansfield District Council has entered into a contract so intrusive investigations can take place into a building it owns in London. The Labour-run authority bought the building in Clapham in 2017 as an investment, but investigations a year later in the wake of the Glenfell Tower disaster uncovered serious fire safety problems. The council could spend up to £20 million bringing these issues right and has entered a contract with company Wilmot Dixon to investigate what level of repairs and work the apartment building needs. Next, and County Council officers say artificial intelligence can be used to improve the efficiency of services moving forward. Nottinghamshire County Council has carried out trials of AI software to take notes during meetings and to summarise documents, and feedback from staff has found it improved the flow of meetings. A report on the Council's approach to AI was discussed in a political meeting on Thursday, and the authority says the technology can make roles more productive as well as bringing down waiting times for some services too. Moving on now, and it's time to talk music, but not for the reason you might think. Earlier on in the show we discussed time, space and also history, and that final point is another one we're touching on now, and that is because we've been to speak to record shops and music lovers right here in Notts about what's being called the vinyl revival. This is the resurgence of people buying LPs, with national figures showing physical vinyl sales outpaced the growth of streaming services last year. That's wild. Also, it's been seen in shops across our area too, including last month during Christmas. And Henry Green reports.
Over the years, the way in which we listen to our favourite tunes has changed. The turn of the millennium saw a CD boom before streaming services like Spotify took over the way we engage with music. But while many have moved away from the boombox and towards a Bluetooth speaker, independent retail shops are looking to scratch that trend. Nottingham vinyl salesman Rob Smith says LP goes beyond just music.
So it's been a few years now, but there has been a revival and still is. I think it's the old story really, the cliche, and people just like the feel of it, like to put it on themselves and select the tracks and all this kind of thing. Just the cost of living crisis and everything else that's going off and the post-Christmas stuff. You wouldn't expect to be too busy, but we're not bad.
Rob's Records on Hertz Yard in Nottingham is a particularly unique spot for this type of music, known for its messy style.
It just gets a bit awkward to get around the shop at the moment, that's the problem. It's not so convenient, but most people seem to like it. Some don't, of course, but most people do.
Figures from the Entertainment Retailers Association show album sales in the UK grew by 10.5% in 2025. That's faster than the growth of streaming services, and was the 17th year in a row vinyl sales has increased. Another Nottingham shop hitting the right notes with its sales is Vinyl Destination in Arnold. Mark, who runs the shop, has also noticed that people seem to be changing their tune.
So guys are coming in the 40s, 50s and even 60s. I bought my record player from out the loft. I'll bring it. They want to get back in on it, and it's just the way forward. Kids have never had anything like this. They've never had anything to pick up and hold and flick through and read all the words and the artwork and whatever. It's Spotify is it's just not the way forward. It's final.
For people using shops like these, there are many reasons they're turning back the years in their love for the LP. For some, it's inheriting collections of classics, and for others, it's seeking nostalgia.
No one likes to do the current thing nowadays. Everyone wants to do older stuff again.
Using second hand, I mean, it gives people a chance to come and have a look at the older things.
The voyage is much better than the destination sometimes, and vinyl's reintroduced that.
Whether it is ABBA Voyage or David Bowie's Black Star, it's clear to see that vinyl is back on track. Henry Green for Knots TV.
Thank you, Henry. Right, some proper classic albums in there. I might have to go digging in my loft for those. Right, before we go to our sports, it's time to discuss Trent Bridge. And I don't mean the cricket ground. The bridge itself, in its modern form, has been in place for more than 150 years and is one of the key connecting routes between Nottingham City and the Rushcliffe Borough. It's used by Forest fans, of course, to access the City ground, and by cricket fans accessing its namesake stadium too. But according to one City councillor who sits on the committee in charge of its maintenance, the bridge is in need of some significant repairs. Steve Battlemuch, who's put forward some major repairs and improvements, told us what he wants to see.
I think it needs some care and attention. I'd like to see some external lighting on either side of the bridge, like some of the other bridges around the country. I'd like to see something done about the safety barriers, which were put there in 2017. Either for them to be removed and replaced by bollards, or for them to be covered with appropriate covering, because they're an eyesore at the moment. They're just full of graffiti. We do have some issues because the highways area, the road and the pavements are technically covered by the City Council and the County Council, but the improvements to the bridge are covered by the Bridge Trust. So there's a bit of negotiation to go off to work out who's best to pay for all this work. If we're talking about external lights on the bridge, we're talking hundreds of thousands probably, but that's what the Bridge Trust was set up for. So, I do believe that's a legitimate use of the Bridge Trust money, and that wouldn't come out of council taxpayers' money in the city or the county. I understand from some cyclists that they're not happy with the lack of cycling lanes in and around Trent Bridge. And I think that needs to be looked at by the experts that work with cycling groups on that issue. It is a very busy road. There is a lot of traffic comes across it, but there's also a lot of pedestrians come across it as well, particularly around sporting occasions. So we do need to get it right.
And we've contacted Nottingham City Council for comment, but the authority didn't respond to our requests. Time for your sport now, and we are starting near Trent Bridge with Nottingham Forest, who've confirmed star striker Chris Wood has put pen to paper on a new deal at the City ground. The New Zealand international has bagged 14 goals so far this season in a Premier League campaign that's seen the Reds climb as high as second in the table. He signed a 2-year extension, keeping him on Trent's side until at least the summer of 2027, and in a new interview said the club has got a lot of potential in the league this year.
Look, yeah, it's been nice. I mean, I'm happy to be contributing and doing well for the team. I think it goes hand in hand with the team doing so well. It means I've gotten the opportunity to score goals and do well. So yeah, I think we're all happy where we are, but we already know it's halfway through a season. We've got a lot more to achieve. A huge amount. My game's supplying, and I need that from other people, and I thrive off that, and that's what I love about this team. They supply so much and create so many great opportunities, and it makes my job a lot easier in the sense of trying to score goals. So.
Across the Trent now, and Notts County are back in action in League 2 this weekend and will be looking to build off some good league form. The Pies have won their last 2 matches and have only lost once in their last 6 games to keep themselves well in contention for both automatic promotion and the playoffs. They're currently 5th and face 11th place Bromley at Meadow Lane tomorrow afternoon. Speaking ahead of that one, head coach Stuart Maynard said he's expecting a difficult challenge in front of the Meadow Lane crowd.
We love playing at home in front of our fans. The atmosphere here is incredible, and our fans make it hostile and difficult for the opposition to come. And I think we've seen that in our performance levels here. Even when we've lost a couple of games, the performance levels have been excellent. So they have a goal threat. They've added Nicky Kabamba, who was one of the top goal scorers in the National League the season before and this season. So they've got a real goal threat in the top end of the pitch, and they're a real threat from set pieces. So we expect a really tough test.
Interleague One now and Mansfield Town have confirmed their home game against Northampton Town has been rescheduled so it can be shown live on TV. The Stags were due to face Northampton at the One-Call Stadium on Saturday, February the 7th, but will instead face them a night earlier with a 7:45 p.m. kickoff. That will be shown on Sky Sports. But before then, Nigel Clough's sides are preparing for a trip to bottom place Cambridge United tomorrow night, and also have a game against Crawley and Shrewsbury before the Northampton clash. Into women's football now, and Nottingham Forest are back in cup action this weekend when they travel to #United. That's a semi-final clash in the FA Women's National League Cup with a spot in the final up for grabs against last year's winners. Now, if the Reds get there, the final will be played at Walsall FC's Poundland Bescott Stadium in March, with Plymouth Argyle and Stoke City Ladies making up the other two remaining sides. Kick-off for Forest's game is at 3 p.m. on Sunday. On to ice hockey now, and the Nottingham Panthers are back in action tonight for their second game in 3 days at the Motorpoint Arena, this time in the Elite League. They welcome Guildford to Nottingham tonight off the back of an emphatic 5-1 Challenge Cup play in victory over the Glasgow Clan on Wednesday night. That win sees them into the semi-finals of the competition, and speaking after they won that game, forward Matt Alfaro said they're using momentum to treat every game as if it's all or nothing.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought everybody pretty much chipped in. Jason played great again, and that's as close to a 60 minutes as you're going to get. And I thought we played really well. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we came in acting like it was a playoff game, and I think we proved that we thought it was a playoff game, and that's how we need to play to win a championship. We know this time of year, the rest of the games are going to be like playoffs, and we're trying to get to the top of the table, so we have to keep that focus going on Friday.
Now, if you're not able to make the Guildford game tonight, but you still want some ice hockey action in your life, well, you're in luck, because you can catch all the action from the 5-1 win over Glasgow right here on Notts TV this evening. We're going to be showing all 6 goals in a 2-hour special, and that starts from 7:30 p.m. tonight. Right, let's take a look at your Friday picture of the day. Look at this, a stunning sunny city shot from James Matimo. Thank you very much for this one. And as for your weather today, unfortunately, we've got some yellow weather warnings across the weekend. It is windy. Take caution if you are out tonight as Storm Eowyn continues blustering across the country, dropping to lows of zeros. And it means tomorrow will be a really chilly start with a warning of ice. You might need to scrape your car a little bit. Some sunshine is forecast for the afternoon. We should see temperatures rising to 6 degrees and lows of 1. Still really cold though. Looking ahead to Sunday, we've got another amber warning, this one for rain, with showers expected for most of the day, with a high of 7 and a low of 5. Basically, you need to wrap up and take an umbrella. Right, it's time to take another short break now, but don't go anywhere, because we're finding out about a new mining and tattoo exhibition that's launching in Mansfield. And we're taking a look at what you can get up to tonight in our What's On guide. Hello, welcome back to Notts Today with me, Emma Caldwell. I hope you're doing well. Here are some more of your news headlines for a Friday. First, and the discovery of an old mine shaft during the restoration of Brinsley headstocks isn't expected to delay the project. The unexpected discovery came this month as part of plans to rebuild the historic headstocks after the old wooden structure was deemed to be unsafe. Fencing has been erected at part of the nature reserve to block off the uncapped mine shaft, which was found with its old winding cable intact. Conservation specialists say the mine had almost been abandoned and covered over, describing it as a time capsule. Next, and part of the redevelopment of Nottingham's Broadmarsh has been nominated for a national award. The Green Heart, which is a new public space created by Nottingham City Council on the old shopping centre site, has been shortlisted for a nationwide public space award. The facility opened last September and is up against the redevelopment of Market Street in Oxford and the Eden Dock space in Canary Wharf. The winner will be announced at an awards ceremony in April, run by the Developer magazine. Time for our Friday What's On guide. Now, first up, the Theatre Royal opens its thrilling adaptation of the Paula Hawkins bestseller, The Girl on the Train. I loved that book. And this show stars former Queen of the Jungle, the brilliant Giovanna Fletcher, as Rachel Watson, whose simple commute on a train turns treacherous. That starts at 7:30 tonight. Tickets are still available. Next, and just next door to the Royal Concert Hall, has its unusual ukulele orchestra of Great Britain. That sounds fabulous. They're going to be performing covers of your favourite hits, everything from ABBA to ZZ Top, blues to Broadway. It's a show that has it all. It starts at 7:30. Tickets are still up for grabs. And finally, Mammoth Climate Action Cinema are going to be screening a new film by Martin Oetting, Purpose, which explores the importance of time in our lives, and that starts at 7. Sounds fascinating, that one. Tickets are available, but very limited, whatever you get up to tonight. Have yourself a lovely Friday evening. Well, that is stuff you can get up to tonight, but how about something happening across our county over the next few weeks? Now, there is a new exhibit at Mansfield Museum, excuse me, exploring all things tattoos. The project is called Tattooing in the UK, Miners, Misconceptions and His Majesty. It explores the ancestry, artistry and evolving perceptions around body art and its significance in our society. The displays include various historical artefacts, whilst members of the public were also encouraged to show their skin, with hundreds of photos of tattoos and their stories on show too. And here to tell us more is guest curator and local tattoo artist Sean Colgrave. Thank you so much for joining us today. This sounds like a fascinating exhibit. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I think it came about just the right message at the right time. I was talking to the curators there, and I said that I wanted to do something around kind of how to view tattooing as art, and one thing led to another, and kind of here we are. And there's been some fantastic people all up and down the country that have helped me. So a lot of our artifacts come from Jay, who he owns Liverpool Tattoo Museum, and he's a tattooist himself, and has kind of been collecting kind of when he first started his apprenticeship, so kind of like the 80s and coming up, and he's just kind of collected and collected and collected. So we've got flash sheets from kind of loads of really kind of old and prominent artists throughout the UK, so that have been going for decades at this point. We've got a clockwork machine which hasn't been shown in the UK for according to Jay, the moment he bought it, it's been in a safety deposit box, so it hasn't been in display in his museum, and that dates back to about 1851. So literally we'd wind it up and it would just like move the needle and we'd be able to tie that way.
Because there's so much cultural significance towards tattoos, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the thing that really kind of highlighted for me, I remember tattooing one day and I was like, everyone around the world at some point has just gone, yeah, it's a good idea to do this. Like every culture throughout history at some point, using whatever means and that's been available to them, have decided to tattoo. You know, on ships, which I imagine aren't the best place to tattoo. They went, yeah, we can make it work here. We can do a thing.
Bit rocky on a ship. Bit rocky on a ship. So we're seeing some amazing pictures, and of course, so many tattoos now have stories behind them. You are, I would say, a heavily tattooed person. But tell us about some of your tattoos.
So growing up, I watched things like Miami Ink, and there was always a story behind every tattoo. So I was like, oh wow, every tattoo has to be super meaningful and it has to have a thing. And as I kind of grew up and started started tattooing myself, I was like, oh, tattoos don't have to have any meaning. They're just cool. They're just artwork. And then actually over the last couple of years, I've kind of gone back to every tattoo has a meaning, and sometimes it is just that it's cool and you really liked it. You know, I've got a big.
Let's have a look.
Go on then, I'll show you. I've got this big kind of on my stomach, and for growing up, I've always been very self-conscious about my stomach, and I've not wanted to like take my top off in public or anything like that. But then the moment I got that tattoo, it kind of gave me that confidence to go, actually, I don't want you to see my belly, but like, please look at this cool tiger. Yeah.
I love that.
So I think there's always some meaning, and sometimes it's body confidence, sometimes it's actually, you know, you had a stick and poke in your mate's kitchen and you had a really, really good night led up to that, few too many beers or whatever was flowing, and you know, you decide no, definitely not. Please, if you're going to get a tattoo, go to a proper place. But there's always something behind a tattoo, and some of my most important ones do have a meaning. So I've got that. I've got several tattoos designed by my son, so you probably can't see it, but on my leg I've got like this tiny square with a couple of circles on it, and everyone always points to me like, "Oh, you're a tattoo artist. Why have you got this really terrible tattoo?" And it's the first drawing he ever drew of me, so it's lovely. And then the first time he ever wrote his name, I've got it tattooed on my side at the height he was when he wrote that.
And they're just there forever. So this is such an interesting one. Who's the exhibition aimed at, would you say?
So the exhibition is, I've been calling them the Tattoo Curious. So when I was tattooing, a lot of my clients actually were kind of like 50 plus, like older women who, and the story was almost the same. I was always like, "Oh, what's your husband feel about this tattoo?" You know, and they were always, the story was always like, "Oh, you know, I really liked tattoos as a young person, but growing up, there was a cultural stigma, and my husband at the time was like, "Oh, if you get a tattoo, I'm going to angle grind it off you." And then they were always like, "But he's dead now, so I can do whatever I want."
Let's do it.
So it was really that kind of understanding that these are just people trying to reclaim their body, and I wanted to take the art that they were always appreciating and put it in a space that they felt more comfortable approaching, you know. They're not going to be able to go into a tattoo studio, flick through a flash book, because firstly they're not going to feel comfortable in that space, and also I imagine the artist is going to be like, "Well, are you a client now? What's going on? Like, please stop looking through."
Honestly, we could talk about this for ages, and I want to know more about all the tattoos, but we've run out of time. Remind us really quickly when and where it's all happening.
Yep, so it's at Mansfield Museum, so it's right next to the Palace Theatre. For anyone in Mansfield, they are open Tuesday through to Saturday, 10 a.m. till 3 p.m.
Love it. Sean,
we're
thank
there
you
till
so
the
much
end of
for
March.
joining us. Now, in case you missed it earlier, we've been to Sherwood Observatory's Planetarium and Science Discovery Centre, which is hoping to inspire a new generation of astronomers, as yesterday it celebrated its official opening ceremony. Despite the £6 million site opening its doors to the public in November last year, the event saw the coming together of many leading names in science, technology and engineering. And Lucy Marshall found out more.
It's able to see millions of miles into the Milky Way, but back here on Earth, experts hope that Sherwood Observatory is about to make a big impact in how we all view our planet's place in the universe. The centre, near Sutton in Ashfield, has been transformed with £6.8 million. There's a new planetarium, exhibition hall and teaching spaces. Thursday's exclusive official opening saw experts in the field travel from around the country to celebrate what they hope will become one of the UK's best examples of how to bring space closer to home for the public. Dr. Steve Wallace is one of the driving forces behind the centre's expansion.
Oh, it's just amazing. I mean, this has been a dream for some of our members for getting on 50 years, actually, and it really accelerated in the last few years with some of the funding we've got from various sources. But to stand here today, on the day that it opens, just absolutely fantastic.
Construction started in August 2023 and doors opened to the public in November last year. But yesterday's event was a chance for local leaders and scientists to discuss its potential and success so far. Visits need pre-booked tickets and events this month have sold out. Professor Chris Lintott, the BBC Sky at Night host, was on the guest list and told the audience the observatory will inspire a whole new generation of scientists who one day could help us better understand the universe.
There was this kid at the back with his hand up like this with a question. And I thought, okay, well, we'll start with a question. I said, "What would you like to ask?" And he said, "Well, are you supposed to be an inspiration or something?"
Veronica Pickering represents the King in the county. She's the Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire, and she hopes that His Majesty's interest in stargazing will lead to a royal visit in future.
It gives the opportunities that this place offers, which is another world. An opportunity to learn about science, to learn about technology, to learn about other planets. It's so special because these young people in these areas don't normally get offered something so spectacular.
The observatory holds open days, school trips and planetarium shows like the Great Solar System Adventure and Planets 360. The upgrade also includes lots of new technology, including solar power and interactive exhibits. 2025 also marks 100 years since the world's first planetarium opened in Germany, and yesterday's Out of This World celebration in Ashfield, Planet Earth, ensures there's much more to come in our quest for answers to the question posed by our universe. Lucy Marshall for Notts TV.
Ah, that looks fabulous, doesn't it? Thanks, Lucy. Right, so let's take a look at some more of your news headlines now. First, and a man has been charged after another man was found with stab wounds in Radford. Emergency services were called to Pine View at 7:25 on Wednesday evening following reports of a man needing hospital treatment. Police investigations led to a suspect being found by police before 55-year-old Carlton Newville of Pine View was arrested. Officers have confirmed he's been charged with attempted murder and possessing a weapon in public. And he was due in Nottingham Magistrates Crown Court today. Next, police have launched an appeal after reports a disabled football fan was mocked at a Nottingham Forest match. Officers say the incident reportedly happened inside the City Ground on November the 30th during Forest's tie with Ipswich Town. Nottinghamshire police say witnesses reported seeing an away fan aim abuse at a disabled Forest supporter sitting in the Bridgeford stand. They've now released the image showing on your TV screens and say anyone who recognises the man in question should get in touch with them by calling 101. All right, let's take a final break now, but come back after the ads because we'll be heading up to Sherwood Forest to lift the bonnet on the wildlife of the woods and talking to the narrator of the world famous Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. See you in a bit. Welcome back to Friday's show with me, Emma Caldwell. Thank you for joining us today. Here's what's happening in Notts today. First, an official relocation ceremony will be held for a divisive marble sculpture in Beeston Town Centre. The sculpture, titled Waterhead, was previously based in Beeston Square but has been moved near to the town's Arc Cinema so that redevelopment projects can come forward in its place. It was created by local artist Professor Paul Mason in the late 1980s and is described as an organic pillar of Italian white marble resembling the trunk of a tree. Its new location will be marked at an event from 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. Next, facilities and public services across Notts have been affected by strong winds caused by Storm Eowyn on Friday. The popular Columba Park in Bassett Law closed its doors due to high winds, whilst checks were also carried out at Wollerton Hall and Deer Park too. Rail operator EMR also said there were fallen trees on the line between Liverpool, Sheffield and Nottingham, which delayed services during the morning. Though these were removed at around 10 o'clock, it came as winds hit speeds of above 60 miles per hour. Moving on now, and it's time to dig deep into the hidden creatures of our very own Sherwood Forest. And that is because wildlife photographer Alex Hyde, who's originally from Surrey, has been looking into the variety of fungi and other forms of microscopic life through calling the fabled forest their home. He uses cameras to explore life you might not necessarily see with your naked eye, and even has some of his photos on show now in exhibits in Hucknall and Workshop libraries. Our reporter Izzy Fekulak went along for a snapshots of some of the things he sees.
Alex Hyde is a natural history photographer who's aiming to open our minds to the bounty of life Nottinghamshire has to offer, even in the depths of winter. He's won the Hidden Britain category in both the 2015 and 2017 Wildlife Photography Awards, and he's currently exploring what's hidden underneath the surface of our very own Sherwood Forest.
Here we can see some fungal mycelium down in the leaf litter. The majority of the fungus is underground maybe, or in the leaf litter, as these tiny white threads, the mycelium. And if we come in here, so this web of fibres spreads throughout the whole forest, seeing how it all functions. A filigree of mycelium. So even though it's the middle of January on quite a damp day, there is life here. It's just you've got to know where to look for it.
It's estimated that there are about 2.5 million species of fungi, but only 155,000 have been named. Alex believes work like his is vital in the contribution to science and, of course, educating the public.
Photography has a central role in conservation. If we don't know what something looks like, we're unlikely to care about it. We need good images of the key players, these creatures, whether they're big or small, so that people understand their value. For me, the camera is a tool with which I can explore the natural world. It's that childlike curiosity that I think is still there in all of us, so I can put a lens that would normally be found in a laboratory on my camera in the field, and we can start to see really tiny stuff then, some of which could be new to science.
For budding photographers in Nottinghamshire, there's a wealth of excellent locations right on your doorstep. Alex visits various locations across the fabled forest, as well as other places like Wollerton and Columba Park. And although he started his journey by photographing subjects just in his back garden, he says opportunities really are right before your eyes. Izzy Fekulak for Notts TV.
Love that, so interesting. Right, finally, we've got some colour coming onto the show now, and I'm very excited about this because Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat will be taking over the Theatre Royal next month. The multi-award winning West End show will see X Factor star Joe McKeldry starring as the Pharaoh and see Adam Philippe as the title role of Joseph. But a story as golden as this only shines as bright as its storyteller, and they don't come any brighter than the brilliant Christina Bianco, the actress, musician and YouTube sensation who's narrating Joseph's life story as the performance goes on. I caught up with her earlier on to find out all about it. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, this is such an iconic show, and what an iconic role. But for you, it must be a dream role that, if rumour hears me right, is not your first time narrating in Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat.
It's certainly not. I mean, I think I came out of the womb singing along to Joseph. So I was playing the role of the narrator in my mind since birth. But it was one of the first shows I ever did as a young kid. I was about 10 or 12 doing an all children's production of Joseph. So I got to do it as a kid, playing the narrator, playing a lead. And then I was in the show, in an adult, professional production of the show as a child, and the children's choir. And then in 2018, I did a really wacky version of it in Chicago in the USA that was set sort of as a Las Vegas fever dream. And I played the narrator using my own voice and also the voices of, in the full costume, of various Las Vegas divas like Celine Dion and Liza Minnelli and Bette Midler and Cher. It was fabulous but crazy. Or I should say crazy but fabulous. But I think really nothing could have prepared me for the honor of playing the narrator now in an official, Andrew Lloyd Webber sanctioned production of Joseph. I grew up listening to the cast albums, even as an American, getting my hands on the Jason Donovan version, and I love Lindsay Haitley. So to step into this role is such an honor and a true dream come true.
Oh, amazing. I cannot wait. And as you say, a massively iconic show. But for those who may have, missed it or it skipped past them over the last few years, tell us about the show.
Okay. Well, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat takes you through the Bible story of Joseph and his 11 brothers, and the way that they, I should delicately say, have a little problem with him, and in another way, without spoiling the story, sort of banish him from their family, and how he triumphs and prevails and ends up rising to greatness. That's a very succinct way of saying this is a very silly, playful, family-friendly telling of this Bible story. It was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. It was the first thing they ever wrote together. I believe they were 17 years old. Yeah, and they wrote it as, an exercise really for children. So the show was written for children originally, which is why having children as a part of the show, either as a choir singing ensemble vocals, has always been done. And in this production, it's very special because there are some very talented kids, 10 talented kids that are in the show playing roles. In fact, I may be seen just like slapping a beard on one of them and kicking them on stage to be the role of Potiphar or something like that. So it's very playful. You have this incredibly talented adult cast, amazing singers and dancers. I mean, absolutely just the best of the best. And then you have these rising young performers, these great talents, and they're really innocent, and they're really truly in awe of the show every night. I mean, it's very funny when you have kids do shows, and I think one of the reasons Joseph as a musical has prevailed for so many years is it's so truly family friendly. There's something for the parents, the grandparents, the kids, and the really jaded teens in between. There's something there for everybody. But I think it's great looking at the show through their eyes on stage, because these are kids that are not, I should say, jaded musical theater performers that have been doing this for a long time. I mean, when Joseph puts his beautiful coat in front of them and they get to touch it, they really are excited every night. So that adds something, I think that's what adds a little something special to this production. This is the Palladium production that was done originally in 2021, and it was such a hit and such a success. This is now the second time it's touring the UK.
Oh, and we're so excited about it coming to Nottingham. Christina, remind us when and where it's going to be in Nottingham.
It is the February 5th to 15th and I'm so excited.
Honestly, we cannot wait. And as you say, such a family-friendly show. I'm bringing my 9-year-old with me. It's the first time he's going to be seeing
brilliant.
it, and I cannot wait. We are so looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Love that, right? In case you missed it, on Telly Team Talk returned to your screens, and you can catch all the Forest Stags and Notts County latest on demand right now and on our YouTube channel too. Here's the panel's predictions ahead of a jam-packed weekend.
Time now for your weekend predictions. Forest at Bournemouth on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Bournemouth are a team that Forest just haven't been able to get over the line with over the recent seasons. What do you reckon?
I really like Bournemouth. I think they're a real good side to watch, exciting, lots of energy. You know, they run forward quick, they run back quick, they get it wide. God, I'd say a draw. I'd say a draw for that one, and I'd actually take a draw. But again, Forest are capable of going there and winning that football match.
Gemma, interesting one.
Yeah, it is. It's not going to be an easy one at all. I think Forest are going to have to dig in. Nuno's going to have to back himself and get it right, but I'm going 2-1 Forest. I think they've got just enough to get over the line.
Yeah.
Well, looking at it, they've only lost 5 games in 22. They've only conceded 26 goals in 22 games. So Forest are going to need to be on top of their game as an attacking force. And I'm going with Charlie. I'm going to draw.
Yeah, I think I'd take a draw there. Mansfield Town, lunchtime kick-off away at Cambridge, 12:30.
I'm going to go for an away win on that. Cambridge beat Mansfield 1-0 earlier in the season, but they can win that.
Gemma?
I'm going 2-0, Mansfield.
Mansfield
yeah.
win?
Away win.
Away win. Clearly sweeping the board there. Notts County against big old Bromley at home, Meadow Lane, 3 o'clock on Saturday. How do you see Notts County Bromley going, Charlie?
Win their headers and they'll win the game convincingly.
Yeah.
Win their headers in both boxes. They'll win the game convincingly.
Great 2-0, I reckon.
If they win the physical battle, they'll win the game.
Right, let's take a last look at your picture of the day, and this Friday's shot, a stunning sunny shot of our city, thanks to James Matamo for this one. Taking a look at your weather now. Unfortunately, we've got some yellow weather warnings across the weekend, so if you are out and about, just be aware it's really windy. Storm AON continues to bluster across the county, dropping to lows of 0 temperature-wise. That means tomorrow it will be a chilly start. You might get some ice to de-ice on your car. Some sunshine forecast for the afternoon. We should see temperatures rising to 6 degrees and lows of 1. Looking ahead to Sunday, another amber warning. This one is for rain though, with showers expected for most of the day with a high of 7 and a low of 5. Basically, take your big coat and an umbrella as well. It's going to be wet and windy. Well, that's the end of the show and another week here on Notts Today. Thank you as always to all of our brilliant guests this week. The lovely Al Booth is back on Monday to do it all over again. But from then, from everyone here on the team, have a lovely weekend. I'm Emma Caldwell. Bye-bye.